In which way was Avraham Avinu unique?
Our forefather Abraham Avinu, was unique because he was the first person, the first human being in history to make it his purpose in life, to make it his reason for existence, the spreading of the knowledge and awareness of Hashem, the one creator of all things, that there is only one creator, that there is of course a creator first of all, and that he is one. There is not a multiplicity of gods, as everyone till that time and many people even down to this day still believe. This was the unique aspect of Abraham Avinu's life, his career, so to speak. He made it his career entirely selflessly, not because it was a career in the sense of gaining from such activities, but he made it his business to disseminate this knowledge and to announce this fact to the world. And we see clearly that the Torah stresses this fact. With regards to Noah, for instance, who was before Abraham, in chapter 6, Perek Waw of Sefer Bereshith, we read regarding Noah, the beginning of Parashat Noah, we read that Noah was an Ish Sadiq, a righteous man, but the Torah also goes on to state, Tamim Haya B'dorotho, that he was a very special person. He walked with Hashem, as the Torah states there, B'dorotho, in his generations. In other words, in his time, relative to his time, he was a very righteous man. But we see no indication anywhere in the Torah that Noah did anything at all to spread this knowledge and this understanding and this way of life, this direction in life and in human affairs in general. We see no indication anywhere that Noah did anything at all to spread this word. He was a righteous man, and so were his sons, and that is why they were his three sons, and that this is why they were saved as well. But we see no indication at all that he tried to educate, that he tried to influence others. Whereas Abraham Avinu, as soon as we begin to hear about Abraham Avinu, we notice in the Torah the same phrase is repeated a number of times. For example, Parashat Lech Lecha, the third Torah reading, Torah portion of the year, that once we restart the cycle of reading the Torah, it states in chapter 12, verse 8, Perek Yodbeth, Pasuk Heth, that Avraham Avinu, having been told by Hashem to go up to Eretz Yisrael, and that Hashem would lead him to the relevant place and would guide him, and Avraham did so and went to Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. It says that Avraham built a mizbeach, an altar, to Hashem, Vayikra b'Shem Adonai, and he literally called out the name of Hashem. This term, Vayikra b'Shem Adonai, is a phrase that requires some explanation. It is not self-evident at first glance what exactly this is being referred to. Onkelos, the Aramaic Targum translation of the Torah, explains this as a reference to the fact that Abraham built a mizbeach, an altar to Hashem, and that he prayed there. But this doesn't really explain a great deal, and it seems to me that this is a somewhat unsatisfactory explanation. And this is also what we find in Chazal, that Chazal did not explain this term in this fashion. What we find in a number of sources of Chazal, of our sages, such as in Bereshith Rabbah, Perek Lamed, Parasha Lamed Tet, it states, Melamed shehikra shemo shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu befi kol bari'ah. The fact that it says with regards to Avraham Avinu, Vayikra b'Shem Adonai, This is a reference to the fact that Avraham caused the name of Hashem to be known to all people, B'fi kol b'riah, all human beings. And then it goes on to say, Wa'ikra hitchil mi'gayer gerim. He began to make converts, ulahachnisam tahath kanfei shechina, and to introduce them and to bring them under the wings of Hashem. This is the explicit interpretation of Chazal, which is also later echoed by the Ramban. The Ramban, in his explanation on the Torah, writes that Wa'ikra b'Shem Adonai is a reference to the fact that Avraham would build a Mizbeach. This was his practice, as we see. I will read presently some other psukim that speak of this. Avraham, his practice was, his custom was to build a Mizbeach, and there to set up, as it were, a place, a Beit Midrash, if you like, a house of study, a place where people would come and hear him speak and talk to them about the reality and the existence of Hashem, and the reality of Hashem, and the oneness of Hashem, and how one should lead one's life based on that predicate, on that basic fact, that there is a Creator and that He has a connection to this world, and we can be connected to Him. This statement regarding Abraham Avinu doesn't occur once. The Torah is going out of its way to stress this fact. It appears again in chapter 13, Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Daled, verse 4. Here also it says that Abraham, wandering through different parts of Eretz Yisrael, returned to a site where he had earlier built a Mizbeach, Barishona, in an earlier time. Wa'ikra Sham Avram b'Shem Adonai, and there too Avram, who was still called Avram and not Avraham, he announced and he made known this fact, the existence of Hashem and the oneness of Hashem and Hashem's connection to this world and to every individual human being, and therefore the way in which a human being should address himself to life, how one should lead one's life. This is what Abraham was doing. When the Midrash, Bereshit Rabbah, says that Abraham was converting people, obviously it does not mean to Judaism as we know it today, because there was no Judaism yet at that time. It means that he was introducing them to a new philosophy of life, to a new theology, a new understanding of human existence. And this is also what Chazal said on the Pasuk mentioned earlier, when Avraham and his family, his wife and all his belongings, when they picked up and left Haran to go to Eretz Canaan, to go to Eretz Yisrael, it says that they took with them the Hanefesh Asher Asu Haran. And Chazal explained there as well, also in Bereshit Rabbah, in the same place, in the Midrash, that they took with them all the people that they had convinced, that they had influenced, that they had taught and brought under the wings of Hashem. In other words, people who had made a life choice to join Abraham on his mission in the world. So those are two places, the beginning of this parasha, Lech Lecha, where it is stated as we read, and a third time we go on to read later, at the end of that chapter, again, when he got to Elonei Mamre, near Hebron, Wa'iven Sham Mizbeach Ladonai. It doesn't state here that he called out or announced the existence of Hashem, and he taught and disseminated this information. But it says that he built a Mizbeach, he built an altar. But we have to understand that this is also a reference to the fact that he was doing this in order to spread the word of Hashem, the knowledge of Hashem. We have to understand that building a Mizbeach, an altar, was not some private undertaking. You can't build an altar in your tent or in your living room. An altar is a large thing made of stone, and he would do so in a public place, somewhere where it would be seen and known to people in that area, and that was the center of his activity, of his teaching. If you wish to compare it to outreach programs, both in the Jewish world and in the non-Jewish world, to spread certain information and ideas, particularly religious ideas, to a larger audience. This is exactly what Abraham Avinu was doing, and this is exactly what we do not see anybody doing before the time of Avraham Avinu. This then is the true explanation. This is the meaning of Vayikra b'Shem Adonai, that Avraham called out, that is to say, he announced, and he disseminated, and he taught about Hashem, and he brought people closer to this understanding, and eventually had more and more followers, as we read in the Pasuk, the Nefesh, the people, Asher Asu v'Haran, the people that they had brought into their fold. This is also how the Shadal explains the term in his Perush on the Torah. So Avraham Avinu was the first, and in fact the essential, the fundamental and the seminal messenger of God to the world. Avraham Avinu, Abraham, our forefather, he was the forefather of the Jewish people, but in many ways he's also the father of all humanity. Av Hamon Goyim, as it says explicitly in this parasha, this portion of Lech Lecha. Abraham was called Abraham because he was to become an Av Hamon Goyim. He was to become the father of great masses, great numbers of nations. Because this teaching of Avraham Avinu is what makes human existence meaningful, purposeful, and worthwhile. Avraham Avinu knew that human existence, without this knowledge, without this understanding at the root of human endeavor, human existence, human life in general, Abraham knew that without this, human life is of no value and no significance. And with this knowledge, with this understanding, everything changes. Human life, human existence becomes full of purpose and meaning and satisfaction, happiness, and joy. These things are only attainable, truly attainable, if we walk in the footsteps, we follow in the footsteps of Avraham Avinu.
What practical lesson can we learn from Avraham Avinu's example?
The simple and straightforward and obvious lesson that we must learn and take to heart from Avraham Avinu's example is that we are the sons, we are the descendants of Avraham Avinu. And Avraham Avinu's work is not complete. He was the beginner of the revolution, and what he did was in fact a tremendous revolution and an unbelievably profound and almost incredibly difficult undertaking, and yet Avraham Avinu took it upon himself to do so, and he began, and he succeeded, slowly but surely. And from Avraham Avinu came a nation, the Jewish people. It is our task to continue that work of Avraham Avinu. The Jewish people, although they must, of course, think of themselves in terms of how to conduct their existence as a nation and as Jewish communities, and to foster Judaism as it has come down to us, as it has come to be from the time of Avraham Avinu down to the present day. But we must never forget that we have a mission to the entire world. And I feel that the Jewish people are not adequately addressing themselves to that issue. Am Yisrael has a tremendous amount to say, to teach mankind, and we should not be bashful about doing so. If in earlier generations, when the Jewish people were in exile, were scattered across the globe, were being persecuted, not to say murdered and exterminated in many parts of the world, if the Jewish people were then not in a position to have any real influence over other peoples, this of course today has changed very, very much. The tables have turned, so to speak. The fact is that the world today is lost. Certainly the Western world is lost, has no direction, no purpose, no inkling, in fact, of where it should be going, what it should be doing, how it should be conducting its affairs, and if there is in fact any value and significance and meaning to human existence. These are all huge question marks. all of which, each of those question marks, leaves a huge hole in the heart of every individual human being and in the heart of mankind as a whole. And the only group, the only people on earth who have the real answer to that question are the Jewish people. This work was begun by Abraham Avinu, and we must never forget this, and we must do more to disseminate the knowledge of Hashem in the world.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.